In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel, episode number 97.
Yep.
So,
97.
so we are going to take a look at the MLB. As everybody should probably know at this point, they're in a lockout
They're just fucking
potentially.
shit up. Yeah. At this point, the only thing that they've agreed on is the universal DH, and we're at the point now where we're going to be looking at lost games.
I mean, to
As
be
today
fair,
being Sunday, tomorrow is the deadline.
yep. But also, to be fair, I don't think the MLB season suffers from the loss of games as much as like any other sports lockout would. Like, you're talking about like at least at this point, even if we lost 16 games in a 162 game season, it won't really change the outcome of a season.
Bro.
Whereas if you're talking about losing 16 games in an 82 game season, that's a lot bigger of an impact, even though you're probably still looking at it might change the middle of the pack more so than the up, the higher part, the first few seeds. So I don't see losing games as too much of a detriment right now. Now, as we start to get into like 20 to 40 games lost, you're probably gonna see me say like, hey, it's getting a little much now.
Agree with that. I mean, I think baseball is the one league where there is enough skill that outweighs parity. The only thing is, what is a definitive number to where parity comes into play? Because I think you could lose 40 or 50 games and
Yeah.
still not have
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying like as we go past 20 into the 40s, then I'll start to say like maybe we want a solution sooner rather than later, because I feel like as you get past the 60 game mark where you're going to have less than 100 games in the season, you start to
Mhm.
bring the parity argument back.
Mhm.
So it's like um what will we like what will happen at that point? Like, are we just going to strike the season from the end or not?
Because we now know that sports leagues don't give a shit about actually like doing anything other than they'll crown a champ if there's a 15 season game, and even in baseball, and I feel like whatever will give them a chance at revenue, they'll go for it. Unfortunately, MLB is the one sport that is all about the revenue and not.
Yeah, true, but I mean they're going to lose a lot of revenue.
They are, but they know that as far as they're concerned, they're still America's pastime. They'll still make a shit ton of money, and like if they get their way with the labor discussions, then um, if they get their way with the labor discussions, then despite losing money up front, they will keep way more money later on down the road.
True, true. But yeah, so and we also said that like the only thing we know is the universal DH is a go. I I really think that now this makes like the NL and AL like what the heck's the difference?
Nothing. There's no difference.
Yeah, and I mean like unless you're Shohei Ohtani, you're not really losing anything.
Well, didn't they make it universal DH in the All-Star game like for the past 2 or 3 years anyway?
Yeah, but that was more because they wanted just the same amount of players, right?
I guess, but like when the game was in NL Park in like the past before those 2 3 years, it was pitchers hit.
Oh, cool.
Pretty sure. So I mean, you would have had just another pitcher,
Yeah, true.
which isn't the worst thing. It is what it is. It's a little bit weird to see that baseball actually is adopting some form of change. But at the same time, the National League, I'm sure pitchers didn't actually want. Only the
Unless you're
ones that
Shohei
were,
Ohtani.
well, yeah, but unless you were really good at hitting, then I mean, you were a pitcher and you were only going to play every 5 days. So
Hmm.
it just didn't make sense to be really good at both.
Yep. But at the same time, like I'm okay with this change, sure, but like does it really do anything to solve the problems with the game in the current like
No,
fan
because
environment, right?
no,
Like,
because the problems with the game are structure based. They're not
yeah.
anything to do with the actual game itself. Because they tried implementing the shot clock for the next pitch, which has done absolutely nothing for slowing down baseball. Because,
Speeding up.
or yes, but like I don't know about you. I've gone to games since they've implemented that shot clock, and I don't think anybody's actually looking at the shot clock, thinking about it's time to deliver the pitch.
Nope.
So like it doesn't do anything. The intentional walk did anything. Like now that you could just
I
be like
mean,
signal it.
like I think that's just like a quality of life buff more than anything. Like that really should have been
How
there.
it
Like,
should have, but like those 4 pitches weren't like game
oh, no,
breakers.
but like, what the hell's the point of throwing those four pitches to begin with?
True.
Like, that's my point. Like, obviously, it did nothing for the speed of the game. Because in the grand scheme of things, how many times are you going to intentionally walk somebody? You've
One or two.
probably already been through three batters at least that you've thrown full counts of pitches to.
Yeah. I do like uh, the rule change that they came up with a couple years ago to make pitchers have to face 3 batters, just because, uh, which is weird to me because baseball probably loved having 2 different commercial breaks in one inning or in
Yeah.
one half of an inning. But at the same time, it was just really boring for baseball to watch one guy warm up. He then gets what his 9 warm up pitches. Then he faces one batter,
And
and
then next
then
pitcher.
next pitcher, which means going to commercial. Then that guy warms up and gets his next pitches, and then next 1 or 2 batters, and then the inning's over, and then
Yep.
back to commercial again. So
Yep.
basically, having a top half of an inning or bottom half of an inning accumulate to 6 minutes in TV commercials is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it like takes something away with the game with,
It does,
but
but
I agree that it does like changing pitchers every batter does not do wonders for the speed of the game.
I think baseball knows that their game is that slow. I don't think baseball understands that their game is that boring because of how slow it is.
Yeah, I mean, like to be fair, I haven't gone to a baseball game actually the last baseball game I went to was with you in Pittsburgh. Uh, so, but like when I watch it or when it's on TV, I really can only stand to sit and look at it for like 2 innings consecutively, and that's a stretch sometimes. So like, I, I don't like it's just a problem where truly how are you going to speed up the game? Because the 7 inning doubleheaders didn't work for
Like kickball.
a bunch of other reasons.
Kickball goes a lot quicker. Has a
And
lot
I
less
mean,
equipment, has a lot less practice pitches.
I think like you're in a bullpen, you have warmed up. Why do you have to spend 10 minutes slowly walking to the mound and then get like 15 pitches to warm up?
Is there a rule that they can put in where the coaches just stop wearing uniforms too?
I don't know, man.
Why the fuck does a coach get a number? What purpose does that serve? Even when there's an ejection, it's not like NFL referees where they announce who committed the foul.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you look at it, numbers were originally only for batting order, right?
Yeah.
So like what the heck's the point of all these numbers?
Yeah. Everybody should just be like the Yankees, have no names on the back of their jersey. But then actually no, there should be the opposite of the Yankees. No numbers.
No numbers on the back of the jersey.
All names. Just like an old time
I
NBA
mean,
warm-up
I
shirt.
do think that the numbers, at least, like when you're at a game, it's easier to identify a player by the number than it is by the.
Right, but I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten bummed out thinking that the guy running onto the field was the coach. Because from 40 yards away, they all look like players. Because their facial features don't mean anything at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
And
but
baseball's
like
the one sport where a guy who's kind of portly can still play.
my
But like
point
the
is
fact
though,
that he's
like,
running out with a belly doesn't mean shit either.
but like that doesn't really do anything to slow down or speed up the game. My point is that there's so much time lost in the changing of pitchers, which is why they implemented the rule that the pitcher has to face 3 batters, right? And I mean, but that still does nothing to deal with the crux of the problem where you've already had a pitcher warm up, but if you let them walk slowly, like they're meandering to the mound, and then they get to warm up again, like what the hell was the point of their warm up in the first place?
Oh yeah, don't you love when they had the bullpen cart too?
Yeah.
The golf cart with like the big ass cartoon like batting helmet on it.
Yeah.
And they were like, these guys can save, up to 13 seconds by not running and taking the bullpen cart. And it was like, and all the players saw it and they were like, yeah, I'm not jumping this fucking cartoon character on wheels.
Yeah, I mean like that makes no sense. But like, I understand giving him like two or three like 3 pitches to just throw to get situated. But like there are times when you see a pitcher has like 10, 15 throws of a pitch, and you're just like, dude, you warmed up already. Why are you still throwing?
But it's all stupid. It's all stupid and it's not good. Every innovative measure that baseball has tried to take has.
I mean, like, I
I mean,
just
look, they're
think,
big fucking. I'm sorry to interrupt, but their big fucking like thing that they've agreed on right now is the universal DH, which is something that they already had around for decades. That's the big headliner right now. Is something that already was here is now already here.
but again, it solves nothing, right? Like, that's my point. It solves nothing with the problems of the game. But again, it's a lockout between two parties who really don't care about what the fans think the problem of the game is. So,
I unfortunately baseball is the one sport where the fans don't mean as much.
yep.
I mean, that's the teams with the lowest payrolls survive year in and year out, just making whatever money they do,
Yep.
regardless of fans, because TV deals are there that basically render fans' attendance meaningless.
Meaningless.
And you go on national TV, you're just as well to be better. Get some revenue that way too.
Yep. All right. Let's go away from this sadness.
As always, talking about baseball is depressing.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the NBA next. So what we want to see is
Or what we did see were
Yeah.
two big trades during the deadline of James Harden getting his wish. Apparently, did not want to formally request a trade because he thought it would make his reputation look bad. So he wanted a trade, but didn't go to the GM and ask for a trade.
Yep.
Don't know how that happens.
You still asked for a
Got his
trade though,
wish.
so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Got his wish, went to Philly, which apparently he said is where he wanted to go the whole time, which I think is a little bit weird that the guy who played with Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City decided that Philadelphia was his first choice, despite the fact that he knew that KD had won rings. Like, let's be real. If Kyrie Irving just gets the fucking vaccine, James Harden never requests this trade. Because the main reason Harden wanted out was because what was told to him that would be was at the very least he was going to play with Irving and or Durant at any given time.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
And
you
then
can't really
Irving
blame the
skipped
Nets for
out.
this one. Like,
No, I can't blame Harden for this one. I can blame the Nets for this.
I don't know. Like, I'm
No,
pretty
no,
sure I
I'm
blame
sorry.
Irving for this one.
No, yeah, I blame Irving, but the Nets could have moved Irving.
But who wants the guy? Okay, to be
Any team that isn't in a vaccine mandate state, why wouldn't they?
yeah, but they would get more for Harden than they would for Irving because teams know they want to get rid of him.
But they would have gotten capital that they could have actually used instead of a player who's only there part time.
Hmm. I don't know. I don't think there was a good way to handle this because you either trade.
Last week,
a-
Irving had like 28 or whatever, 30 some, I don't know, high scoring, but not in a state where he can play. Or
Yeah, but, like-
only in a state where he can play.
Yeah,
So,
but like at the
what's
same
fucking
time, it's like
difference?
the team is like, okay, well, I can either get nothing for this guy because teams know that we need to get rid of him so we can actually field a team consistently,
Yeah, but
or
if you're gonna,
or you just give up on the season because you're 500 and just trade Harden and get quite a bit for it.
the Nets aren't winning now either. See, that's the thing. It's like they get Ben Simmons in return. I don't know how Ben Simmons actually fits in Brooklyn.
But I just said just give up on the season, so I don't really care how any of these players fit right now.
I guess. I don't know. Apparently, the betting odds are still that Brooklyn is like one of the top two favorites to win the East.
But they're like
Just
500.
Yeah, they're worse than 500.
I thought they were 500.
Pretty sure they were a game or two under.
I thought okay. Well, we'll find out because we still have to talk about playoffs anyway.
Yeah. And then
Um,
the other big trade was Sacramento getting. Oh, I'm sorry. The Nets are 32 and 29. 32. The other big trade was Sacramento getting Demonis Sabonis, an all-star forward from
Yep.
Indiana. Both teams kind of shuffling the deck, but not really doing a lot because, yes, Sabonis is an all-star. Yes, Indiana gets young pieces, but not Indiana at its best with their current core was a low seed making the playoffs. And at its best, Sacramento was a team that wasn't going to make the playoffs. And none of that changes.
yep.
At least Sacramento made the move to try to chase those wild card play-in spots.
I mean, like,
Sacramento, I believe, is still under 500. They are 22 and 40, and they made a move to try to make the playoffs.
no, but they like my question of like what I saw from this is how did Sacramento trade 3 for 3 where one of them is an all-star and still get a pick?
Because one, Halliburton has a lot of years of control left because he's only in his second year. He was a rising star, and the price tag was high on him. So I guess
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
can't you just
Sabonis
say the same thing about Demonis Simonis?
depends on his contract.
True. Okay,
But
but like I don't know. I just thought like they still got like even though with this, like, I really don't think picks are that important unless they're first round picks in the NBA. Because
Sabonis is under contract for another 2 years after this year.
yeah, so isn't he worth quite a bit?
18 and a half and 19 million a year after this year.
So yeah, and he's good. So I don't know, but like I also
He's
think
good, but he's not like best player on your team going to change anything good.
no. But at the same time, like again, I'm saying like I don't think second round picks are really worth much anyway. So even though they got a pick, it's like whatever.
They're not. They're not worth shit.
All right, so let's talk about the playoff picture where we can learn some of the
And Halliburton's got 3 years until he's up for restricted free agent.
RFA, right? Yeah.
Basically 4 years.
Right. So, anyway, let's take a look at this. So, in the West, you have the best team is Phoenix with a 49 and 10 record or somewhere close
Yep.
to it.
Yeah, 50 and 11.
50 and 11. And in the East, you have Chicago at somewhere around 39 and 21.
Yeah, so I mean, look, Chicago kind of built their team very well over the offseason because they already had Levine, they
Yep.
already had Vucevic. They traded Markkanen to the Cavs, and the Cavs are actually doing pretty well. But they added DeRozan because they needed more scoring, but they didn't necessarily need the rebounding or anything. They added Caruso for the bench. They added Lonzo Ball to have a steady point guard,
Yep.
and they all got hurt.
Yeah.
But they're still winning,
Good for them.
and they're doing okay. It's kind of hard to root against them, but as a Suns fan, I'm going to. I would love to see the Bulls in the finals though, because like I think that they're a team that can beat any team in the East, but I don't know if they could beat a Warriors or Suns or
Yeah.
you know the powerhouses of the West.
I mean, I do think that they'll provide a good matchup if it does become that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Chicago versus either of them.
Oh, yeah. It would be a lot more fun than watching super teams.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, aside from this, again, like I was saying, Brooklyn is literally in the eighth seed, 32 and 29. We were saying,
Yeah, so which is amazing that somebody can actually say that they're the betting favorites for the East.
yeah, it doesn't
By being in
make
the eighth
any
seed.
sense. So
It is what it is. And injuries hurt East Coast teams like nobody's fucking business. It's crazy. The Nets, Durant, and I guess you could quote unquote say Irving. Miami has had injury issues. Uh, Philadelphia didn't have injury issues, but when you don't have Ben Simmons playing, that's something. Boston, Boston isn't injury issues, but it's just really hard to understand how they have Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown,
Mhm.
two like top 15 players in the league, and they just can't figure out how to win around them.
yep. So
Cleveland is hard to root against, but
Cleveland is hard to root against. I find it pretty easy.
well, there's no LeBron.
Yeah, still, that's whatever.
I think that like they built a good team the right way, kind of like how the Suns did through drafting and then developing. And for them, without LeBron being in the building, it's taken years for them to be able to come up with something like that. It's been decades of failure
Yep.
outside of the LeBron era. So for them to be doing it right now without LeBron is impressive.
But I mean, it also goes to show that, like, that one guy, even in basketball, can't really prop your team up consistently because even they have off days.
Yeah. But
But even
right
though
now,
basketball is the one sport where one player can make the most impact out of the major sports.
mm-hmm. But I don't think that the expectation right now is for them to be that high.
Mm-hmm.
It's
True,
to
true.
be building. So I don't know.
All right.
Alright,
Any other teams you want to talk about?
No.
Okay.
The rest of the West is pretty much a wash.
Yep. On to the NHL. So Here's the current standings for the East. We have the Hurricanes, Rangers, and Penguins, all of the Metro, obviously. I'm not surprised at any of these. Actually, I was kind of surprised the Penguins lost to the Devils a few days ago, but
I'm not. Look, we saw them in person lose to the Sabres, the Kraken. This is what they do. And part of the reason why I do not take them seriously is when you lose to bad teams continuously, being stacked up against one in the playoffs is not a favor to you. So, as far as I know, just I don't trust it yet.
I mean, if they're
Probably
third
means
seed
that
in the
they'll do
Metro,
something.
right, they'll play the second seed in the Atlantic. So that would be the
Yeah,
Lightning.
yeah, yeah, and they'll get their ass shit pumped that way too.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I'm not surprised to see these teams at the top. Obviously, in the Atlantic, you have the Panthers, Lightning, and Maple Leafs. I can kind of it's kind of funny to see both Florida teams at the top.
Mhm.
I mean, they both are really good, and Florida's producing for the first time in ages, or they finally ramped it up. So good on them. Maple Leafs round out the top three, obviously.
Are we at the point now where we just don't take the Maple Leafs seriously again?
I I don't take the Maple Leafs seriously. What are you talking about?
They win games and it means nothing when it comes to the playoffs because they just find new ways to lose.
Yep. So I mean, again, I'm more focused on the Panthers and Lightning. Hopefully, they can show that the Atlantic can actually do something.
Mhm.
In the wild card spots, we have the Capitals and Bruins. Um, Again, not surprising, especially for the Metro. There's like a polar difference between the Capitals and up and everybody else in the Metro anyway, so it's not like you'll see any of it but those four teams in
I
there.
do, I do love the shit show that was Tuukka Rask coming back to provide goaltending depth and then immediately retire like a week and a half later.
Yep.
Just like I think I have it in me. I'm gonna come back and sign a 1-year deal. Oh,
Nope.
you want me to practice? Oh, my legs just don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks
I
for coming
mean,
all the way back from what? Like Finland, wherever it is.
yep. I mean, as of these, like the rest of the teams, they're all pretty bad. Like, let's be honest, there's no way the Red
That's
Wings are gonna
okay.
make it into the
No,
playoffs.
they're gonna make it for sure. They're gonna make it and they're gonna win it all.
Yeah, good luck with that. There's literally no way. If you look at the probability, they have a 98% chance to miss the playoff.
Make you feel that somebody in Detroit probably put money on a future about them making the playoffs.
Um, I mean, the only one that really has a shot is the Blue Jackets, and that really just depends on how the Bruins do. Because
I mean, it also means that the Penguins have to lose, which is completely possible because as soon as I could tell you, as soon as the Penguins hit first place, doesn't last and the drop starts. So
I
depending on
mean,
how long that goes.
like I don't think that like the Penguins, if they are not like they'll make the playoffs, right? The
Yeah.
Capitals will probably make it too.
Yeah.
It's just how the heck are the Bruins gonna hold up, and can the Blue Jackets actually do something? But none of the other teams have a shot. Like the Islanders are a wash, the Red Wings are a wash, the Senators, let's not even talk about it. Devils, we obviously know they're bad. Flyers, Sabres, and Canadians, like why are we even looking at them?
I think they all have a chance.
Right. So now that the East is over, let's look at the West.
We're this deep in the season, they haven't been eliminated because they're not in the West or in the Pacific. So they have a chance as far as my book is concerned.
I mean the Flames. I mean I think aside from the Avalanche, the West is as a whole tighter than the whole East is.
Mhm.
All right, the Avalanche is obviously the outlier at 78 points. They're first. Let's be honest, nobody's catching up to them.
There's always that one division that's just way out in front, though.
Yeah, but the Flames have been pretty good. The Golden Knights should hold up, but again, the wild card is only 3 points behind them.
Weren't the Flames kind of like out of it for a while, then kind of jumped into it?
Yeah, but they've held up pretty well. Again,
Good
the
time to get
Kings.
rid. This is just another one of those ways that they prolong having Johnny Hockey on the roster, despite the fact that there really is no upside for him being there. Like they're
Didn't
not
they get
worried
rid of
about
Gaudreau?
Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he's still there.
Oh, I'm not sure, man.
Let's look it up. Johnny Gaudreau. Yep, he's still there.
Oh, okay.
The perennial all-star slash trade rumor factory man.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, like there's only a 5 point difference separating the three teams in the Pacific, whereas the Central has, aside from the Avalanche, there's 2 points separating the wild card from them, and 5 points separating the wild card from the out anyway. So I think the Central is kind of like set. As long as the Predators hold, really, the Central's kind of set. The Pacific is still up in the air.
Do you want to say one more thing on him? He is free agent after this year.
Okay.
So if there's any year he's going to get dealt, it's this one.
But yeah, like the Central is kind of up in the air. But if the Predators hold, it won't move.
Mm-hmm.
Pacific is really up in the air. There's literally 2 points separating them from not being in the playoffs with the Kings and the Stars, I think. So, no, we'll see. None of the other teams are really worth talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Unfortunately, hockey has all the parity. Well, that's not actually unfortunate, but
Yep.
it makes things easier to talk about.
All right, and let's
The
take
Olympics
a
are over.
small look at
Oh.
the Olympics. Norway won the Winter Olympics. Who's surprised?
I mean, all I want to say is it was really hard to watch the Olympics this year. Maybe it was because we had our Summer Olympics fill like 6, 7 months ago, but at the same time, it was just hard to watch the U.S. come in second and third place or not medal as much as they did. And it just made things really boring. And I would never think that I missed Saturday Night Live instead of the Olympics, but I
But I
did.
mean, what was really surprising with me is the amount of silvers and bronzes the Russian Olympic Committee got.
Yeah, which I mean that's the other thing too is the 15-year-old Russian who doped but was still allowed to compete. But if she took home anything in the top three, the event was a wash, which was like, well, maybe just move her to like did not qualify and don't make everybody else ineligible to medal. I don't know, seems
Yeah,
to
so I
me.
mean, I don't know. I watched a bit of it. The Olympics are literally the only time I watch curling, so I
Well, I mean
watched that.
that was first day. I tuned in for about 3 to 4 minutes while folding laundry. But I mean, the hockey is never at like unless the hockey games are in a time zone convenient to you to watch. It just doesn't get watched. The NHL players not being there. I would
Yep.
have loved to watch, even the women's hockey, but when you work full time, like those games are just never when you can watch them.
Yep.
And when there's no NHL players, it doesn't make it, like must watch television.
Yeah, but at the same time, it would have been like better if they, because you still get young players, and that's a little fun to watch. See who can
Get
possibly
young
come
players,
up.
you also get really old players.
Yeah, that too. But I watch mostly for the younger players to see who would be potentially good.
I'll never forget Ryan Malone thinking that, despite the fact he was retired from the NHL for 4 years, He was like, this was 2016, I think,
Mm-hmm.
training to make the Team USA team, despite being out of hockey for 4 years.
Okay, whatever. All right, well, there goes our Olympic recap that we didn't really cover. So,
Well, they didn't really fucking entertain either. So what's the difference?
yeah, the next one's I don't even know
Every
where.
every athlete that NBC hyped up that was an American floundered hard.
But what are you gonna do?
Didn't matter.
All right, well, let's talk about what's coming up next for us.
And for us, being me and Sean, coming up very quickly because we're pulling double duty today. Um, we're gonna have some stuff in the works. We've invested we've invested some monetary funds into bringing everybody a new presentation of our always funny basketball show for what is March Madness.
Yep.
We want to get on this a little bit sooner, but we've had to learn the application a little bit. And so we'll have that coming in the next week or so.
Yep.
We're going to start, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sean. We're going to start with a show where we pick the 68 teams in no particular seeding order. And then we're going to have the show where we have it all ready to go, pick the 68 teams, seating wise, and then have some parity in that sense as well.
Yep. So we will start with the March Madness as we always do every year. So that's something to look forward to.
Indeed. So get ready for that and get ready for the visual of it because that might be the first piece of content that we do that will not be in 720p.
Yeah. So yeah. Hopefully everybody looks forward to that, and we've got some work to do, but we hopefully everybody will like what we have in store. Thanks for tuning in, and catch you next time.